Okay, we are back for some more Unreal tutorials and lessons and so on and so forth. And for some odd reason, it is not showing the Unreal Engine right at this moment in time. Come on, there we go. Welcome back to another session for the Unreal Engine. I'm your host, Strangebird Jim. And we're going to be continuing on where we last left off for yesterday with the programming quick start. We only covered like the very basic intro of it, like the second step, going back over, going over like um, the keywords, the parameters, you know, void, virtual, so on and so forth. We were just kind of going over that for the most part. We didn't really take too much longer in the programming and quick start. So today we're going to be kind of going through like the next couple steps in, um, for, you know, we're going to be doing the edit your C++ class and all that. So look forward to that. I see that Blackheart is in the stage, so let's go ahead and invite him to speak.
Hello there, how you doing?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm doing A-okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So let me go ahead and do a little bit of work here. Do, 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 do. Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and get your stream up, my friend, so that we can kind of make sure that we are um, kind of watching exactly what you're doing, just in case. And there we go, all done there. Now, so many windows. Okay. Okay. I'm assuming you have the Unreal Engine and the Virtual Studio up and running.
Yep.
Okay. So, shall we go over what we see on the floating actor CPP? So, for those that might be like watching, um, or might be catching this video for like the very first time, we just finished creating a new class, creating the floating actor, and we now have the floating actor CPP and .h files. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get that up. So, okay, let me see. Is it showing up on my screen? It is not. Okay, what's going on here? Come on, Visual Studio. What's going on here?
You might need to reset
There we
the
go.
capture.
That's kind of pointing to the exact same thing. It's just, oh well.
Yeah, on mine I never edited it. I just like left it as is, and I still had to like reset the window it's supposed to capture.
Yeah, I know. It's just still
Kind of weird.
one of those things where it's like it's the same thing, but okay. Um, so shall I kind of go over a little bit of the floating actor CPP a bit, or
If you think it's necessary, otherwise let's carry on with the Unreal stuff.
well, I mean, are you kind of understanding what's being shown here, such as the super, the void, um,
Yeah, some of the things are somewhat similar to C sharp, so I can assimilate some of it.
okay, yeah. Well, just in case anybody is actually wondering, super is basically referencing the where tick is coming from another source, you know, as kind of described here. It's being we're currently overwriting tick from from one of the other include files here. So super is basically saying, hey, go ahead and reference that information from the previous, um, you know, uh, look at the class above. Typically you have like a class hierarchy, you might say. So it's kind of looking at the one above it to kind of get any additional information. Void is just basically, what the function returns. So void just basically means that nothing is returned. And if you see the a floating actor colon colon a floating actor, that is what is considered the constructor. So that's where you kind of get, you know, you can do a lot of stuff like at the very beginning, set memory, set, you know, some like maybe some temporary constants, whatever, you know. So, okay. Very brief overview of that. So,
Yeah.
uh, okay. So on to edit your C++ class on the web page. You ready?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So now that we've created our C++ class, we're going to switch over to Visual Studio and edit our code. So in Visual Studio, locate the Solution Explorer, which is by default is on the left side of the window, then use it to locate floatingactor.h. In our project, it will be located under Games Quick Start Source Quick Start, as they named their project Quick Start. I named mine the, program Quick Start, and
Same.
obviously, you know, okay, Blackheart did as well. Okay, so um, okay, so it wants us to double click floatingactor.h. I mean, we've already opened it,
Yep.
but they wanted to bring it into focus in the text editor. So this is a header file. Ta-da. You can think of it as being sort of like a table of contents for a C++ class. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, the header file can still do code if you want it to. It just has to be like very short, if anything.
Minimalistic.
Yeah, very. Otherwise, everybody's going to be like going, what the hell are you doing with your header? It's still going to be processed in the compiler. It's just meant to be more of a table of contents than anything else. So that's all. So before we start building a new functionality, we must declare any new variables or functions that we're using in this file. So yeah, that's typically what you want to do with the header files. Include any new variables or functions. So um, add the following code beneath the declare for a floating actor constructor. So we want U property visible anywhere, and then use static mesh components asterisk visual mesh. So I'm gonna need to kind of move this a little bit so that I can kind of get there. Um, okay, so below floating actor, gotcha. So U property visible anywhere. Use static mesh component. Now notice how it's kind of automatically trying to fill in for you. So just kind of tab over and it will automatically do so. Asterisk and then visual mesh. Okay. I don't know why they did it on a separate line, but it really, you shouldn't necessarily need to have it on a separate line. It could all be on like one long line if you need to. Uh, so Um, so we're basically declaring a variable in this particular case. Okay, we're declaring visual mesh as the name of said variable, right? The useStaticMesh component is what it's um, basically going to be kind of taking in for the most part, right? But here's the thing. For people that don't know, that asterisk at the very end, that's typically the symbol for a pointer. Okay. So we are basically generating a pointer called visual mesh that will basically be referencing a useStaticMesh component. So just giving you a heads up on that. So um, again, I'm not quite sure. Normally, you just have um, a yeah. Okay. Typically, before any kind of um, before any kind of variable or function or anything along those lines, normally you just have whether it's a public value, protected, private, whatever, right? Normally, I don't really see like an extra, you know, value after public. You don't normally see that very often. So this is kind of something extra being added in for with the Unreal Engine. Um, I'm not quite sure how that falls in with the compiler overall. Um, it's not something that I've typically seen that often, but you know, again, I haven't really been in the loop for a while, so things have most likely changed. They probably added, the possibility of adding like additionals, you know, in between public and your, um, what static mesh is all about, kind of thing. So yeah. All right. You good? The Blacker?
Sort of. For some reason, public is throwing me error. I don't know why.
Well, you don't have to type in public before it. Here, hold on. Let me see your stream here. Let me see. What are you looking at there? Oh, I can't really see it very much. Hold on.
Let me look up how you put it. Let's see what you actually put it. Alright, I see what I'm doing wrong. I got the wrong file open right now.
Oh, you're doing it in the CPP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Move that over to
Uh,
the header file.
yeah. How? Some shoes. It was underneath.
A
This.
floating. No, no, no. It's under the a floating.
Th-
Um,
There's a floating actor
yeah.
right
You
here.
have an a floating actor. You put it underneath that, and don't worry about the public. It's already been declared.
Alright. What was it again? There it is. The property. I forgot I had left it on the other one last time.
Okay, you good?
Just making sure I'm spelling in everything correct.
Hmm. Probably could have just copied and pasted.
I'll probably just do that.
I mean, if you.
Because my spelling sometimes is questionable.
I mean, there is that. Um,
Okay, there, picked it up.
yeah. You good?
Yeah, for some reason, Visible Anywhere was not being shown on the shortcuts, but it is working.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are declaring a static mesh component, which, you know, they're stating there, which will act as our visual representation for our object. Note that it uses a U property macro. Interesting. Good. Now we'll have to remember that, a U property macro, which makes it visible inside the Unreal editor. For more information on U property and its specifics, see the page on properties. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up that page just in case for later.
Yeah,
But for right now, we can just kind of move on if you want.
yeah,
Okay. So now to open the the CPP file or C++ file and add the following code inside the constructor or a floating actor colon colon a floating actor just before the closing bracket. So we're going to the C++. And now we're going to be modifying or adding in these if statements inside the constructor. Why we're doing if statements inside the constructor, I don't really know, but I mean, it is what it is. So, but they want it before the closing bracket, so we have if using component pointer existing root component is equal to get root component. Oh boy. Okay, it's going to be, oh boy. The length of of the the code itself is making it really difficult to kind of write it all out. Okay, I need to extend the width of the page itself to kind of handle this. Okay, so we now do the open bracket, close bracket. Thankfully, it does close bracket automatically for you, so that's nice. So, so visual mesh is equal to create default sub object, which is something that's automatically coming up for us. So I'll go ahead and do that. Open arrow, u static mesh component, close arrow, text and mesh. Okay, semicolon. We have visual mesh pointing to setup attachment root component. Then we have static constructor helpers f object finder u static mesh. Oops. There we go. Q visual. Spelling it incorrectly. Asset text game starter content shapes shape cube dot, I'm assuming that's dot shape. Nope, it's dot shape cube, okay. Shape underscores cube, okay. And then semicolon there. They really should have, you know, up above they did like the U property and put it on down to the second line. They really should have done the same in their code here as well, but whatever. Okay. Let me scroll on over a little bit, make sure that I'm still kind of within the if brackets here. Just making sure. If cube visual asset dot succeeded and paren close paren visual mesh pointing to set static mesh cube visual asset dot object, and then do this again, visual mesh pointing to set relative location f vector and a number of values here. And then close paren. Okay, let me move that down there. And there we go. Okay. So the code is done. Time to minimize the window here again so that I can actually look at chat. And I'm done. How about yourself? Where are you at?
Me, type in the code. Although existing root components throwing me error, I don't know why.
Um,
I'm gonna save time. I'm gonna copy it.
I almost forgot that.
Pasted it, and existing root component is saying an error. I don't know what might be wrong with it.
Well, they might address it later, so it might be something that they'll try to explain, or
Are you getting an error from it?
yeah, I'm getting the error as well.
Okay.
So,
Let's see what it says
let's
here down
see.
below.
Wait. Oh, they messed up in the code.
What happened?
So, okay, if you hover over the existing root component, you'll notice the fact that it's basically saying it's expecting a close paren, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it's saying. Well, here's the thing. So what it's doing right at this moment in time, which is a little weird, okay, because obviously when you're talking about an if statement, you're looking for like a true false scenario, right?
Yeah.
But the existing root component is just getting the information from the function get root component. Okay. Is that going to be a true or false value? Probably not. But it's most likely checking, the if statement condition right at this moment in time is checking to see whether or not that actually worked. Okay. Did existing root component actually get a root component? If it did, then it's true and it moves on into the function. If it didn't, then it skips it, right?
Right.
But here's the thing, their code is wrong. They messed up because they added an extra paren at the very beginning. Notice how you have two open parens at the very beginning next to the if statement,
Yeah.
and another open paren next to the get root component. But you have
Yeah.
a close paren for the get root component as it's a function, and a single close paren after that. So it's looking for another close paren after that entire line, but it's not there. So that's what the existing
Oh.
root component is all about. So all you have to do is just delete one of the open parens to the left of UC, and it'll work.
Okay. Okay. That's a little better.
Oh my. I, boy, I really wish I could just, hey, Unreal, guess what? You're messing up on your code.
Yeah.
Um, because this is hilarious. The fact that they didn't even test this. They're not even
No.
pulling this from their own. Um, they didn't even test this tutorial. Otherwise, they would have seen that. They would have seen that problem. Hey, okay. Well, okay. So here's a slight problem that I'm having with this. One, you don't normally have something like this. You don't normally have like if statements within the constructor. Normally, you're trying to get, you know, you're trying to build values inside a constructor kind of thing. This
Yeah,
isn't
it's the first
tip
time I see something like this.
you typically don't use the constructor to do too much code inside of it because it's um, it's not kind of regarded as really clean code for for the most part. Because what happens if you need to change one of these lines of code or something like that? Now you're going back into the constructor and changing it there, and what happens if um, or what happens if you need to change one of these values during a frame? You get what I'm saying? Like it's saying set relative location. What happens if you want to set the relative location to another value, like at during one of the frames? You can't do it in the constructor. You get what I'm
No.
saying?
Yeah,
So
I do.
so
But this is very weird. This is the first time I see an if within a constructor.
yeah, you typically don't do if statements in constructors. Typically, so this is not necessarily the best in I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong, it's necessarily wrong. It's not like you can't do that. It's just kind of regarded as bad coding, you know. Because like I said, if they need to change the set relative location, then what are they going to do? So, um, if I was them, I would be taking these if statements, putting it into a function, then call that function, if anything. And that should probably be fine. You can call functions within the constructor if you need to, and then you can recall
Yeah.
the function again if necessary. But yeah, okay. Um, this function is the constructor. Well, a floating actor is the constructor, not this code. And it tells the class how to initialize itself when it is first created. The code we have added will fill our visual mesh reference in with a new static mesh component. Um, okay, static mesh component. Okay. Attach it to our actor and set it to the cube mesh from the starter content assets. For more information about attaching components in code, refer to our guide for creating and attaching components. So let me go ahead and pull that page up just in case. Um, now, um, hmm. So let me see. I'm looking at the code here, and to be honest, the static constructor helpers, find object finder, use static mesh, um, you don't need that. I mean, you can have that pretty much as a standalone for the most part. You can kind of have that pretty much outside the if statement, maybe. I mean, I'm
Mm,
I'm not 100% sure. Maybe maybe it's kind of associating the component itself with it.
maybe.
You see, I mean, I don't see anything with, I don't see anything right at this moment in time with the static right there that is associated with the using component or the visual mesh right at this moment in time. I don't see the like direct necessity of it. So I mean, you could potentially pull that cube visual asset like out of it, um, outside of this if statement, put it in the constructor, and it probably should be fine. But I'm not saying recommend doing that. I'm just saying, um, you know, it's used in the other if statement here, right? Um, I'm just um, my concern right at this moment in time is the scope of this cube visual asset doesn't necessarily go outside of the if statement. It pretty much ends after that. So um, so I mean you're setting the value of the object into the static mesh or the visual mesh there, and then that's it. So does it actually remain? I mean, I'm assuming that it obviously remains in memory. Otherwise, um, you know, it you're gonna have some additional errors or you're gonna have some visual glitches along the way. But I don't know. I'm just kind of questioning this whole if statement, to be honest. So, so shall we go on? We'll see.
Yeah, let's go on.
Yeah. So add. Is there any questions that you have with the code itself? Like, do
Mm,
you have
not
any,
at the time.
you're kind of getting what they're trying to go for on it?
I think so. It's still like weird to me that it's inside the if. That's the just like you like why it's in there.
Yeah, I don't know why they put this inside the if. I mean, they could have kept it outside and they can kind of reuse it again if necessary. But because it's kind of inside the if, I mean, doesn't it, you know, I mean, obviously they're associating it with the visual mesh, as a pointer. They're setting the object to the visual mesh there. So it's not necessarily gone, but like if I was to do something, like if I was to take like that line again and put it outside, then, you know, you'll notice that the key visual asset is unidentified if I move that line outside of the if statement. You know,
Mhm.
you can probably do the exact same thing if you want to. They're black cards, so your audience can kind of see. You just take line 20 or the visual mesh pointer to set static mesh cube visual asset dot object. Take that
Yeah,
entire line, copy it, paste it outside the the entire if scope,
yeah.
paste it there, and it will go, hey, I don't understand what you mean by key visual asset. So, I mean, so,
Bugs.
um,
Hmm.
so on one hand, it's like, okay, great, you can use the key visual asset, to see whether or not it did actually succeed in finding that particular value, that particular file, and set it up, into the cube asset, right? That whole, if cube visual asset dot succeeded is, worked, then it continues on and puts it into the other, right? Um, but I mean, shouldn't you be kind of having like maybe a failure in there as well? That's why I'm saying like all this in the constructor is just this could be bad because what happens if say that file isn't on that particular path, you know? Now suddenly that cube visual asset fails and you don't associate the visual mesh with anything of value in there. It doesn't have a static mesh assigned to it. It doesn't have a relative location set to it. There's nothing there. So if you try to reference that information later, and and it's a failure, then um, you're going to be creating some problems in the game itself. So this is already being very dangerous code in my particular opinion. So especially with it being in constructor. So okay, but I mean, we move on.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Okay, so add the following code inside of floating actor tick float delta time just before the closing bracket. So we're adding all that inside the um, that function. So. And we're still on the CPP. Would recommend saving it just in case. So
Yeah, just in case.
save early, save often. You never know. If you have a power outage, then all that coding that you just did is gone. So
Yeah. Okay, it's vector new location.
okay, float running time. Get game time since creation. Okay, and it's like the fact that some of these are automatically allowing for you to put that all in. And obviously those values that are kind of popping up on the screen there, you know, like all these libraries showing up, those might not necessarily show up if you didn't have those pound includes at the very top. So that's so
Yeah, so when you install your Visual Studio, make sure you install it properly so that it has the necessary libraries with it.
well,
And that you're importing the correct libraries with
indeed,
it.
indeed.
F rotator.
I'm assuming running time, but I don't know. Okay, let me widen my screen up a little bit so I can see the entire line. Now, if yeah, I don't think I'm showing. No, I'm not showing the web page. So if anybody wants to see exactly what's going on right at this moment in time, I'm basically copying the exact same thing off their web page. It's I mean, I could do like a just a copy and paste. I could just copy all the words that they have there and paste it into the compiler, but you know, I like to kind of type it out myself to kind of get it like in my brain. Doing a copy and paste doesn't necessarily help me out. So, yeah, I'm just kind of copying their code and that's about it. And that, you know, that doesn't really, it's not that helpful if you're just doing a, you know, straight up copy and paste. So you have to kind of understand, um, you know, what it's doing. Plus, I mean, you know, I'm also kind of showing off the libraries as well. So let's get those comments in there too.
Creation. Right. Let me spell that.
Okay. Rotation.yaw. Delta. Rotation. Sometimes it's just easier to, you know, um, arrow down um, to the value in question. You know, hey, if it's there in the library, then might as well go ahead and reference it.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah.
Running time plus delta time.
Gonna save it real quick. weird. Why did they add that one into actor? Hmm. Let me know when you're good, my friend.
Let's see, what is this time? Yeah, checking what I did wrong for new rotations, could me an error.
Which line?
Oh, I think I see the problem.
Okay.
There we go. Just a typo error.
Yeah.
Is Delta time grayed out for you as well?
Yeah. But I mean,
Okay.
it's still a variable that it's still kind of referencing. So it might be the fact that like maybe it might be like a constant at another location. So they're probably like saying that this is something that is very specific. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what they did per se for that. You know, but the it's not necessarily being shown. I mean, we could like we could go to try to see like the actor file to see what they did there with it, but for the most part, I would imagine that it's probably like a constant, something that they don't really change.
Okay.
That's maybe. I'm just guessing right at this moment in time. I'm not 100% sure about it. So I haven't seen enough of Visual Studio to or I haven't seen enough of the recent Visual Studio, I should say, to tell what it's trying to do there. So okay. Do you have any questions about what we're doing in this particular
No.
um, for the tick? You know,
No.
obviously,
No.
if there's anybody in the comments or on our chat right now, if you're not really understanding exactly what we're doing here, or if you have any questions about it, feel free to speak up. If you're not quite sure what's going on here, what like
Hi,
it
Kipukaki. How you doing?
like if you're like looking at say like line 39 or something like that and going what is this all about or something along those lines, right? Then feel free to speak up about it. And Blackheart and I will try to address it, if we understand it ourselves. Because like for example, I look at delta height with the fact that it's pulling in the sine function, with doing some calculations there. Yeah, it's been a while since I've messed with any form of trig to to fully understand what's going on there, but um, so yeah, that's what's going to happen. Can you run the code? I want to see what will happen. Well, that is coming up, but probably not today. We've run out of time. It's currently 4 o'clock right now, so we'll probably have to save the compile and test your code for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean that
Yeah,
that
I gotta get something to eat, and later we gotta prepare for Phasmophobia.
yeah, getting our asses scared off, you know.
Yep. And I believe today we're gonna be tackling some of the harder maps.
I mean that's if you want to, my friend. I'm not gonna push you on it. So, you know, I'm not gonna say you have to. I'm just saying
I'm going to,
y-
unfortunately.
you're going
I'm
you're
gonna torture myself with
you're gonna force
with a harder
yourself.
map.
Okay, I got you. I got you. You know, I I was laughing about it, last week, kind of going, "Ha, I'm gonna torture you," kind of thing. But I guess that kind of sunk
Yeah,
in your
I
brain, huh?
thought about it, and yeah, maybe I should do that.
If at any time you want to just basically say, "Ooh, let's maybe stop," then we'll stop. Okay. As it is anyway, we don't even have the best flashlights either, so it's like,
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
yeah. But okay. Well, let's go ahead and close this down. I mean, if you don't have any questions about, what you're seeing here, my friend,
No, I
then
can kind of already picture what it's doing a little bit on my head.
yeah, the same. But um, like I said, I'm not quite wrapping my head around the math, because like I said, it's been a while since I've used Trig, um, so that's a bit of a uh, that's a bit rough for me, but for the most part, everything else is pretty much, yeah. Oh, yeah, I get this, I get that, that kind of thing. So no worries on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Save it real quick.
indeed, save early, save often.
Yeah.
That's how it goes when you're coding. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been like, uh, I was like coding inside the lab and suddenly the power goes off, and it's like, okay, there went my code, or there went, you know, my document or whatever, It's like, oh, why? That kind of thing. So,
Yeah, better to lose only a few minutes and not a few hours of work.
indeed, indeed. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it for this session of our Unreal coding. Um, so, I mean, technically, let me add in this little last comment here for the Chrome, or the browser here. The tick function is where we add code that we want to execute in real time. In this case, we will make our cube simultaneously rotate while also floating up and down. For more information about ticking actor, see actor ticking. So there's a lot of additional pages that we can view, which is okay. I'm looking at the properties one, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be interesting to kind of see. Components and collision, that's also going to be fairly interesting to see. I'd almost say we should probably check those out, um, like after we're done with the quick start.
Probably, yeah.
Um, and then we have ticking, which also has some additional information, which might also be really good for us to have under our belt. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually, um, I mean, we're gonna be coming back to programming. Yeah, well, I should probably hold on to these web pages at the very least. to come back to them next time. Um, make a little note for myself because I kind of want to take a look at these a little bit more later. There we go. Made my notes. Gonna close those down. Don't need to look at them right now. But so yeah, that's gonna be it for our Unreal session. Blackheart needs to go and get himself some food. I'm going to get some videos uploaded. And we're going to go ahead and move on to uh, we'll tackle Phasmophobia in an hour or hour and a half, if not later. So, all right. So, um, Blackheart, thank you for joining me as always for this. Um, and we'll continue moving forward on our Unreal experience.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
I'll see you
yeah.
later, my friend. Take care.
See you in a bit.
All right. Bye. All right. So, I'll leave that one. I'll leave the stage alone for the night, for the time being. And that's where we're gonna go and close on down. Like I said, if you have any kind of questions about like what we were typing out, like kind of the specifics, like maybe you weren't really sure about what one line is doing, then feel free to ask those kind of questions. Like I said, we will be running that code next week and tomorrow. So next week, no, tomorrow. Or at least that's the plan. It'll be for tomorrow. We'll see. um, and then of course, we're going to be, you know, we'll be tackling Phasmophobia later on tonight. So we're going to be getting ourselves kind of freaked out about that. So look forward to that. But that's it. That's where we're going to go ahead and close on down for tonight on our Unreal Engine tutorials. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I catch you next time. But until then, take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy, stay safe. And I'll catch you strangers next time.